I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to our 6th Strength and Balance Conditioning class. Now, if this is your first time joining us for Strength and Balance Conditioning, don't worry, our instructor will explain as we go along, and you'll easily be able to participate. The class is suitable for many levels of fitness. However, you know your own limitations. Please do not try to go beyond what you know is right for you. If you have any concerns, check with your doctor before participating in this or any other AARP fitness offering. AARP Missouri also offers another live class called Zumba Light, and we have links to some of our past programs like Tai Chi, Forever Fit, and Movement for Life that you can participate in from the recordings. You can find all of those links at aarp.org/movingit. And you can also see what classes are coming up, like Tyler's next class, which is going to be yoga conditioning. All of our programming is created with people 50 plus in mind, but it's good for anyone of any age, anywhere. To learn more about these opportunities, please go to aarp.org/movingit. Now, AARP realizes that our fitness and balance class, strength and balance conditioning class can be great options for anyone who may not be able or who still may be hesitant to attend a traditional fitness class, like a caregiver or someone with health reasons, or just for the convenience of working out at home. In addition to our online fitness classes, AARP also has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 vaccine information, and technology information on our website, aarp.org/nearyou. Now, if this is your first time with an AARP fitness class, in this class, we are trying out the webinar format. So you're already muted and your cameras are off. So no one's going to hear you, no one's going to see you. Please use the chat function to let us know how you're doing, or to ask a question, or to make a comment. Also, if you want to stick around a little bit after the class is over, Tyler will answer questions about the exercises or specific modifications. So now let's get started with strength and balance conditioning. Our instructor is Tyler Ferguson. Tyler, take it away.
All right, thank you, Diane. Welcome, everybody. This is week number 6. So we're going to repeat the exercises that we learned last week, but we're going to extend the time that we do the exercises. And there'll be a little bit of an extension on the recovery time. And if we remember last week, we've introduced the idea that we can move on a recovery time. And we're going to do the step and touch, right? So on the step and touch, you can get a little creative on how you use your arms. You can even make up a dance step if you want to. So this is the W, right? So if my hands go overhead, that's going to increase my heart rate a little bit more. That's the big W, overhead, right? You can do the lawnmower, starting the lawnmower. So, make it up, do whatever kind of recovery step and touch if you want. And if you just need to recover, remember our recovery breath is a long inhale, a pause, and then an exhale, bounce and chug. All right, let's get started, guys. Come to your feet, hips distance apart, lift and spread your toes, place them back down on the ground. Let your arms rest down to the side and soften your eye gaze. So take your eye gaze down to the floor, or even close your eyes. And feel your feet grounding into the mat. And notice where you tend to carry your weight, or where your weight lands in the feet. Feel the big toe mound press down. Feel the piggy toe mound press down. And feel your heels pressing into the mat. So you have this triangle in each foot, and you're allowing the weight to distribute evenly across the triangle. Good. Start to bring your feet toward one another. So we're crushing the mat together. Feel the glutes and the inner or outer leg muscles turn on. Draw your navel into your spine. At this point, you can open your eyes and look forward. Lift and lengthen through the crown of your head. Keep crushing the mat together with your feet. Circle sweep, reach your arms up overhead. Grab opposite elbows here. Pull your elbows up out of your body, up away from your pelvic bowl, and then just start to find some gentle tick-tock side to side. So we're really looking to lengthen the torso here, finding some nice bends on either side. And breathe into the space that you created. So Take an inhale into this side rib cage, exhale center. Inhale into the side rib cage, exhale center. Come back to center. Bring your arms back down to the ground. Shrug your shoulders up into your ears and then down your back. So you're making these shoulder circles here. As the shoulders come up into the ear, try to place them down on your back and then feel the shoulder blades move down your back as you do so. Keep drawing your navel into your spine here. And that's helping you engage your deep abdominal muscles. And then pause. Let's do this. We were crushing the ground together with our feet. Let's find that external rotation, that torque in the hips. If you're new and you don't know what I'm asking, we'll talk about it after class. Otherwise, just crush the ground together. But if you can find that corkscrew, soft bend in the knees, feel the glutes turn on, draw navel to spine, circle sweep the arms up, reach overhead one more time. Exhale your hands down through prayer. Pause your hands at your chest, pull your hips back behind your heels, and start to move into a flat back hinge. Take your eye gaze down to the floor. Feel the hamstrings working as you're corkscrewing or tearing the ground apart. You don't want to let your head drop or your spine round. You're just getting this nice stretch in the back. Take your hands and start to push them forward. So you're pushing your hands out in front of your head. Notice how you have to use the core a little bit more as you lengthen the levers and push the arms forward. Tuck your tail a little bit down to your heels. Draw your belly button in. Bring the hands back to prayer. Push through the heels. Rise back up. Stand nice and tall. Circle sweep the arms up. Reach overhead. Bring your hands to prayer. Let them pause at your chest. Shift your hips back, find your hip hinge, slight bend to the knee, press your arms forward, big stretch. In your hip hinge, eye gaze is down. Pull your prayer shape back into your chest, push through the heels, rise up nice and tall. Squeeze the glutes at the top here, lift the heart, lengthen through the crown of your head. One more time, circle sweep the arms up, reach overhead. Bring your hands to prayer. As your hands pass your face, pull your hips back behind your heels, move into your hip hinge, feel the stretch in the back of your hamstrings. Send your butt back or your hips back a little bit more if you can't feel that hamstring stretch. And then I forgot to have you send your arms long, but you can. Notice how that changes the work demand in the core. Hands come back to prayer, push through the heels. Come back up to standing, squeeze your glutes, circle sweep the arms up. Well, last time, this time, don't come to your knees, stay standing. Right hand grabs your left wrist, pull up and over. Keep pushing through your left leg. Left foot comes down. Come back up to center, switch your grip. Left hand grabs right, pull the right shoulder up into the ear, bend over to the left side, push down through your right foot. Breathe in, come back up to center, separate the hands, draw the elbows down, cactus your arms, lift your heart, squeeze the glutes, draw navel to the spine here. Find your corkscrew in the hips or your torque or your external rotation. Inhale the arms up, reach, and bring your hands back down to the sides. Just shake out your wrists a little bit, soften the knees a little bit, and then just start to find some little rotations. Let your arms just slap and hit your body. And that circular motion is a nice little pull on the tissues at the shoulders. Keep breathing as you're finding these little slaps in the body. Good. And then come to stillness. Place your hands on your hips. Send the hips back into the back corner for a hip root. So both knees are slightly bent. And my hips are back as if I'm sitting down into a chair. My hips are hinged here. My back is flat. Bring your hips forward, squeeze your glutes, find a hip root on the other side. Good. Now I'm looking at the screen, so I don't have the best alignment. For you, your chin would be down more, so the crown of your head and your tail would be more in alignment. Come to standing, squeeze the glutes, hip root on the other side, eye gaze is down. Now sweep your tail across the back of the room, wind up in a hip root on the other side, and then sweep your tail back across the back of the room, wind up in a hip root on this side. Send your hips forward, squeeze the glutes, hip root back to the opposite side. Squeeze the tail, or brush the tail, I should say, not squeeze, brush the tail, swipe the tail across the back of the room, swipe it across one more time, and then come up to standing. Squeeze the glutes, come nice and tall. Moving back up to the spine again, bring the hands together, shoot and round the arms forward. Notice my shoulders come out of my ears as my hands and arms travel forward. So I'm moving my scapula or my shoulder blade, I'm separating it from the midline, and I'm bringing it wide laterally. Eye gaze is at the thumbs. My low back is pretty neutral here. I'm not super tucked or super lifted. So I'm just rounding through the back ribs. Separate the hands, lift the heart. Bring your scapula together as you stretch and open up the front of your chest here. You can blade your fingers, spread them, whatever helps you recruit more muscle. Draw your navel into your spine. Inhale here. Exhale, shoot and round. Shoulders come out of the ears here. Eye gazes at the thumbs. So the chin is slightly tucked. Separate shoulder blades here. Now separate the hands, chest expansion, lift the heart, expand through the chest. Inhale and exhale, let it go. Give yourself a few little chugs to begin our work today. Okay, we're gonna do last week's workout, but let's review the exercises real quickly here. And if there's something that you need from the exercise, something that you don't understand or you need to regress or progress, tap it in the, or type it in the chat function, and I'll do my best to help you out to address your question. I would rather you clear something up than move not understanding. Also remember, challenge is great in these exercises, but if you're feeling any kind of pain, back out of it or even consider not doing it. We're not looking for pain. Okay, so our first exercise is the curtsy squat. So let's step into the curtsy squat. I'm gonna put my weight in my right leg, maybe corkscrew. This is the one where a chair might be helpful for you because it's a bit of a single leg balance. I'm gonna take my left leg and place it behind my right as if I'm going in a curtsy. So notice my toes are bent and I'm in my foot fold here. My back heel is lifted, but not my front heel. It's super important. I don't want you to be on your front toes with your heel lifted. Your front heel is down. Most of the weight is in my front leg. So it's, if my right foot is in front, I'm gonna feel the work in my right hip. My back leg is for balance. And I'm just gonna lower down in a curtsy. So I can see that my feet are a little close. I'm gonna wiggle and get myself to a point where I can feel this work. Now, remember how we corkscrewed our legs, found torque when we were standing? Pause, find a little bend in the knee and torque in this front leg, and maybe even find torque in that back leg. And you might feel it in between your legs, like you're squeezing a piece of paper in between your legs. So see how that informs your work. Your hands could be anywhere. They might want to be out for balance. That's okay. Or your hands can be into your heart. So you're really working this front leg. It's the heel that's down. That's the leg you're working. Remember, there's a common theme. Feel the connection between the heel and the glute. Putting the work in the backside, the posterior chain. Let's switch. Come to standing. Re-root in the opposite leg. Step behind. Find your corkscrew. Ground in. Lower and lift. So my knee banged into my shin. I'm going to get a little deeper. There we go. I created room for myself. At the top, go ahead and finish at the top of the face. So really lengthen out this leg. Turn this glute. Firm this front glute on. So there's your work. So we're going to do 90 seconds of work today. So you're going to spend 45 seconds on one side, 45 seconds on the other side. Now, if you're feeling super in your body, super in your feet on this exercise right now, you can make this more dynamic. Excuse me. It's going to look like this. Step and curtsy, plant, corkscrew. Step and curtsy, plant, corkscrew. Step and curtsy, plant, corkscrew, step and curtsy. Now you don't have to make it dynamic. You can stay on one side, and that's how I'm going to show it to start off. But you have that option. Okay. Number 2, row with extension. Grab your weights, actually your weight, single weight. If you have a chair, you can flatten your back and rest your hand on a chair. If you don't have a chair, just rest your hand on your thigh we're looking for a little bend in the knees and a little hip hinge, flat back here, not a rounded back. So keeping the work into the glutes and the legs. Remember, firing that trifecta. Let the arm hang long. We're just going to pull the weight back to the hip. Notice that my elbow isn't way up in the air here. I'm just pulling it straight back to my hip and lowering it down. That's phase one of the row. After you get your phase one of the row, pause with me at the top of the row. Here's the work right here. Bam, tricep extension. Notice on the tricep extension, I'm no longer moving the shoulder. Once I complete the row, the shoulder is done. I'm simply extending the elbow. And if you're doing it correctly, or if I've cued it correctly, let's say that, hopefully you're feeling that tricep really, bam, work on that extension. When you finish, to switch sides, squeeze the glutes, stand up tall. You don't have to rotate around, but I will. Just place the weight in the other hand, pull it to the waist, find your extension. Now, obviously the way we progress and regress this exercise is to increase or decrease the amount of weight that we're working with. But what I really want the takeaway for you to be here is the skill set of understanding that in a row, you don't want your elbow up so high it sends your shoulder joint forward. We've been working a lot on packing that shoulder. So you want to be able to keep the shoulder in pack in your row, feel the lat working. And then on your tricep extension, it's simply the elbow moving. You're not trying to lift here. That's not a tricep extension. That's putting the work into the shoulder. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Chat it if it doesn't make sense. Next exercise are these chair sits. I'm going to give you a lot of variation on these chair sits because this one's kind of challenging. My original idea with this one is to work on our hip stabilizers. So to set ourselves up for this exercise, we first want to find our core engagement. So the previous weeks, remember we worked on these toe taps? So that was preparing our core for this work. This week, you're going to find that balance where you can lift both legs. Here's something that I want you to think about. If I sat up this way, my sits bones are touching, and my sacrum or my tail isn't really touching. But when I lean back to find that balance point, feel your sacrum touch, and it's almost like a tripod of your sits bones and your sacrum. And then feel free to hold on with your hands, because that's pretty hard to sustain when the legs start moving. Now, maybe for you, you're just pausing and working on your core activation, bringing your knees in. If you want to make the work more challenging, we'll challenge the hip stabilizers by letting one leg fall open and close, and then letting the other leg fall open and close. And by fall open, we're just letting it rotate to the side. We're challenging those hip stabilizers as you're continuing to draw the navel in and work the core. Pause for a moment. Hopefully you've been practicing this exercise with me. Notice when you go into that shape, how do you find stability? If you're pushing, your belly out and getting stability that way, it works, but it's not sustainable. So see if you can draw your belly button in, pull all of that fiber of your transverse abdominis in toward your spine, and almost hollow out in there and find your stability in that way. Notice the difference between pushing against it for stability and then drawing everything in. Okay, that's exercise number 3. Chat if you have any questions about exercise number 3. Standing up, coming to a straddle position, we're going to work on our lateral lunges. The big thing we want to make sure we do in our lateral lunges is put the work in our posterior chain and not make our knee do all the work. So I'm going to demonstrate from 2 angles. So with our feet wider than our hips, we're going to hip hinge. Right? We warmed our hip hinge up, so it's a flat back hip hinge. Then I'm going to slide my hips back behind my right heel. The knee bends to do it, but my heel stays on the ground. Then I'm going to push off that heel, come to standing, squeeze the glutes. Send it right back down, stand and squeeze the glutes. Notice as I move into that lateral lunge, I place my hands on my thighs, but that's just a place to put my hands. I'm not collapsing and resting on my thighs, okay? So I'm using my core here. The hands touching the thighs isn't supporting me or propping me up. Also notice if I have like a t-shirt design on here, you can still read my t-shirt design. In other words, what I don't want you to do is lose the core connection and just flop and flop, right? That's just putting the work in your back and you're not engaging the core. Draw navel to spine, keep the heart lifted. Let's switch. Hip hinge, pull the glute behind the left heel, lower down and stand up. So again, the hands are just on the thighs, just as a place to put them. And I'm also not pushing off. I'm not using my hands to push off. I'm using my heel and my glute. So put your mind in your glute, make that connection, feel the heel, push off and come to standing. Pause here for a second. The goal is for you not to work in your knee as much as you're working in your rear. So looking at it from the side, when I hip hinge, I'm not bending into my knee forward and lifting my heel. I hip hinge and I bring my hip back behind my heel so that my knee is pretty stacked over my ankle. It certainly isn't out in front of my toes. Hopefully that makes sense to you. One last thing, if you're feeling super great about this exercise, you've got it mapped out in your body, it's safe, you're using your posterior chain, you can go right, squeeze, and left. Stand tall and squeeze, right, squeeze. So if you did that for 90 seconds, you would never switch sides. If you want to stay on one side and just let the brain map that out, I'll tell you when to switch sides. All right, guys, sidewall planks. That's the next one. Remember how we bent our bar to turn on our lats. We have our elbows in, and we have this 90-ish degree angle. Take that angle, put it right on the wall, and then step yourself out to do a plank. I'm gonna put it up a little bit higher there. So on your plank, shoulder is packed, and you're engaging in this left side here. We'll stay on a plank for a little while, or you can press all the way out, whatever feels better to you. Actually, this is what I meant to do. Or you can do your whole elbow. That's what I meant to do, sorry. All right, so my elbow is almost as high as my shoulder. There's my plank. When we switch, bring your opposite hand down, rotate over to the other side. There's your wall plank. Now notice, this is the muscle that I would be working on my side plank. So let me just show it on this side. I can start to pull that away and do little pulses as I pull that muscle up and away. We can do the same thing on a chair here, moving over into our side planks. If you're on a chair, hand is under shoulder. You don't want to be out here with this architecture that's more challenging. Hand over shoulder. Step your feet in close to your surface to come to standing. And our final exercise, Warrior 3 prep. That's the one where you might need the back of a chair or the front of a chair. Step your feet wide. Step your right foot back. And then notice here if your pelvis is really tilting forward. So bend your back knee, get your pelvis into neutral. Once the pelvis is in neutral, you can start to straighten the leg out. Now the heel is not down. This isn't a warrior leg. This is a high crescent lunge leg. And we're working on the takeoff. So lower the heel and then lift it. Lower the heel, lift it. Feel how that strong ankle propels you onto your front foot. So what we're looking to do, take your eye gaze forward and down, start to land on that front foot. Load, lower the heel, peel up, go to your front foot, and come back. Load, take off, land on the front foot. You can stay here in this Warrior 3 as long as you want in this single leg balance. You can start to get a little bit deeper, lifting the leg a little bit higher, straightening it out a little bit more. And if this stillness is not accessible for you, no problem. Just reload, reset, and take off. Let's try it on the other side. Bring your back foot forward, step your left foot back. Make the pelvis neutral, bend the knee. Now you can straighten out the leg after the pelvis is neutral. Lower the heel, feel the weight move into the back foot more. Lift the heel, feel it propel the weight into the front leg. Do a few of those. Start to map out and feel the weight transfer from the back leg to the front leg. Feel the transfer. Now, if you're going to lift the back leg, the eye gaze needs to be forward and then slightly down. Load and feel it. Now, the chair is here. Load. If you want to really work the balance, you can put the hands down and begin to work the balance. If you've chosen the balance, see if you can create that corkscrew in the one single standing leg, recruiting the glute. That's the secret. It's the same theme over and over. Slight bend in the knee. Feeling free to reload and relunge anytime or spend your full 45 seconds in your Warrior 3. Okay, guys, that's it. I don't see any questions in the chats. Let's get the timers going here. 90 seconds, you choose how you're going to recover. I'm going to start the curtsy squats in a stationary on one side, but I'll show you how to switch if you want to. Getting ready for your curtsy squat, standing up nice and tall. Set yourself up here. There's the bell. Let's go. So as you lower and lift in your curtsy squat, feel free to wiggle that back foot to make sure you have the room that you need to have. Start thinking about that corkscrew in the front leg, the activation of that front glute, and see if you can feel the work happening in the hip, in the glute. Notice if the back leg is there more for balance, almost like a leg of a tripod, making sure you just don't fall over. You're really doing almost like a single leg squat right now. We have about 10 more seconds on this side. If you've chosen to go dynamic, that's fine. You can do it that way too. All right, come to standing, corkscrew, and switch sides. Set yourself up, lower and lift. Once you think you found the foot placement, start to shift your mind to your front leg. Make sure that heel is down in the ground. In fact, try to lift your toes up off the mat here. Really make sure you're working that heel glute connection. Maybe you can feel the stabilizers working in this new front leg. Finding that external rotation in the hips. Can you feel how your inner thighs might be squeezing that piece of paper together? Less than 10 seconds here. If you've chosen to be dynamic the whole time, that's okay. 2, 1, stand up tall, step your feet apart, and then step touch. What is it? Wounded duck. You can do your wounded duck here. You know, you can do like a John Travolta step and touch here. You can hear the heartbeats. That's your recovery time. And then if you need to stand still, inhale up, chug it out. You can do that too. We have 5 seconds. Get yourself set up for your next exercise. Grab your weight in one hand, hip hinge. Let's go. We're going to go row, extend, back to your row, and down. Now, I want you to be in such a way that your crown to coccyx alignment is safe. So if you find that looking up in the screen takes your neck out of alignment, look in the screen for as long as you need or when you need, but otherwise think about alignment between your crown and your coccyx. Keep going with your rows and extensions, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when we switch sides. We have about 5 more seconds left before we switch sides. So go ahead and come to standing here, switch it up, set yourself together on the other side. Notice my crown and my coccyx are in alignment. But if I was looking up, see how they're not in alignment? So I want to take my eye gaze right down to the floor and feel that alignment in the spine. So that was a little extra piece of information. Hopefully that made sense to you. The problem is I'm looking at the screen, so I'm a little bit out of alignment sometimes, but I recognize that I'm out. But I want you, for your home practice, to incorporate that piece into your workout. Thinking about organizing your spine. Good. Come to standing. Place your weight down. And think about your recovery. Step and touch in your recovery. If your arms are up overhead, that's going to elevate the heart rate a little bit. So if that's what you're looking for, more heart rate with this work, this is how you do it. Easy way to get it. You can punch up. We got 5 more seconds. So let's stand wide in our straddle stance, working on our lateral lunges, pulling the hip behind, standing tall. So I'm going to show you the single side version for a few reps. Again, you can lift your toes here. Really make sure your work is in the heels. Also, come to full extension in the hips. Squeeze the glutes. Let the front of the hips open up. Gosh, we sit so much that we don't want to rob ourselves of the opportunity to open up the hips. If you're going dynamic, you just switch each time. Think about syncing your breath with your movement. Now, you don't have to go dynamic because I did. I'm showing you that it's an option. Some of you might be over here on this side. Everybody, not everybody, but it's time to switch. So if you want to switch to the other side, go ahead. I can tell my heart rate is up a little bit after doing my recovery with my arms overhead. Inhale, exhale, stand. Try exhaling through the mouth, making that T sound, and sync your breath with your work. Stand tall. About 15 more seconds here. Now, you can go slower than I'm going, and I guess you could go faster than I'm going, but I really think that there's value and importance in moving slowly, forcing yourself to move through those challenging parts. Come to standing, heel toe the feet in, and then start to step touch. So I'm looking at my chart, and I realize that I'm a little bit out of order, that we were really supposed to do chair sits, but you know what? It doesn't matter. We can do chair sits this time. So I'm gonna make up a little sprinkler action here on my step touch. Maybe get creative. Time to sit down. Find your engagement in your chair. Find your tripod. Bringing your knees in. Notice I'm keeping the toes pointed. Option to stay here and work on not pressing against to find your stabilization, but drawing it in, or grabbing on and starting to lift and lower opposite knees, finding movement in the hips. Again, once you've begun to put these pieces together, can you connect or sync your movement with your breath? Can you notice moments when you start to lose the connection and you start pressing out to get your engagement rather than drawing in? Can you create that hollow body, carved out canoe shape in the front? Are your hips tired here? Fine. Just pause and sit tall. If you're going to pause, you can lift your arms off the chair. And if you don't like any of this, you can just still do your toe taps from the other week. We're still all kind of doing about the same work. So a lot of options here in the work we're doing. Ooh, my toe almost touched the phone and turned off the timer. Imagine what would have happened if that happened. 3, 2, 1. Put your feet down. Pause for a second. Come to standing. Take whatever recovery you want to take. Might feel really good to stretch out the hips after bringing them into that flexion. We're going to move to our wall planks here. We have about 10 seconds left, so if you have to travel to get to your wall, go ahead and travel over. Let's do the forearm down. I apologize for not setting you up for that before. Forearm down, that means elbow to hand. Walk the feet away as whatever angle you want. And then rotate your opposite shoulder to find alignment. Start to feel this underside, feel a hollowing out sensation. As you feel the obliques start to engage here, you can even do these little pulses, maybe by lifting your opposite hips up and away. Keep the back glute turned on to support that work. Keep pulsing there. You got about 10 more seconds. If you're on a chair with me, my friend, shoulders need to be over the wrists. And you can also do your little lifts here. Halfway, guys, we're going to switch. So switching in the chair, shoulders are over hips. If you're switching on the wall, see if you can make sure that shoulder is pulled down away from the ear and the lat is engaged before you step the feet away. It's really important. I'm just going to switch so you can see me. It's really important that we get into our core. Remember, every exercise we do is the core. So if we're not using our lat, we're not using our core. So if we're up here, the shoulder in the ear, we're not engaged. So maybe slide it down. Make sure you can feel the shoulder pack and the lat turn off. And then you're in your side plank on the wall. Walk your feet in to come up to standing. Take whatever kind of recovery you want to take. 30 seconds of recovery here. And then we'll move into our last exercise, which is our warrior 3 exercise. So my phone, my timer just messed up on me, but we'll get it here. There we go. And 3, 2, 1, step your right foot back, set yourself up, maybe take just a few rocks. Start to map the rocks out in your body, feel the weight shift happen, and then find your launch. Let it receive, find your launch. When you're ready, launch into your warrior 3. If you're holding your warrior 3, work on extending the leg that's lifted. So the knee is often in flexion. You want to push through the heel, find extension. You have a slight bend in the front leg. See if you can find that corkscrew or figure out a way to turn on the glute of the leg that you're standing and putting work in. You can play with your fingers on the chair and see if you can bring your hands in for rest. Go ahead and step your back foot down and then come forward. We'll find it on the other side. Take a few launches, finding the momentum, launch and lift, launch and lift. Now you have an option to take it further and then move into your warrior 3. You could just find up and down launches, just working, shifting the weight forward and back the whole time. Or you could launch and lift the whole time. Or you can find your warrior 3 the whole time, turning on that rear glute. You can touch the rear glute and make sure it's activated. There's our timer. I was giving ourselves just a couple seconds. Can you lower that back foot with control and step it forward? All right, good. That's the end of round 1, guys. So we're going to give you an opportunity to take your heart rate here. So everybody find your pulse. And let's go. And that count. And stop. All right, that's your pulse. That's your number for this workout. Let's go one more round. We'll shorten the duration of your recovery in this round. And everybody get ready for curtsy squats. We're going to work on the left side this time. We're going to start everything on the left side of the body. 3, 2, 1, set yourself up and go. So 90 seconds of work. It's going to be a little bit more quick, a little bit less recovery so we can end class on time. So think about the corkscrew in the front leg. Toes are down. Heel glute connection. Syncing your breath with your movement. If you're dynamic and you've chosen to do this dynamic the whole time, that's fine too. You can be creative in how you use your arms. They can be out for balance. You don't have to be dynamic though. You can just stay pulsing on the side until it's time to switch, which will be soon. Come to standing. We're going to switch here. Set up the other side. 45 more seconds. Now notice if your trunk is rotating away from the forward orientation. So your trunk and your hips want to be more forward. You're stepping your back leg back behind you, finding the glute activation of your front leg, and really noticing that the work is happening in the front leg. The rear leg is for balance. I don't know about you, but my heart rate is up more. If you're feeling comfortable with the dynamic, that'll really elevate your heart rate. So it depends on what you're after here. I'm after safe movement, safe form. And there you go, 20 seconds. Okay, guys, we're gonna move a little bit quicker, a little bit less rest. Row plus extension is our next exercise. We have 10 seconds, so you know how long it takes you to set yourself up. Remember, there's your countdown. Let's start on the opposite side, opposite hand, row and extend. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, you know, that first exercise, that was really challenging. I don't know about this one. Well, can you figure out how to corkscrew those feet even in this stance? Turn on the hip stabilizers. Draw your navel to your spine. So working your deep inner core here. Packing your shoulders, turning on your lats. Turning on your trifecta of engagement. Lats, deep inner core, and glutes. Let's switch sides. Moving over to the other side. I moved pretty quickly that time. Sometimes that happens when I start talking. So you feel your exercise. Maybe think about your crown to coccyx alignment here. So if you're in a hip hinge, your eye gaze is going to be naturally down and in front of you. Can you isolate the two movements? Can you feel the difference between the row and the extension? You can begin to morph the two together if you can differentiate between the two. So on your rowing movement, you want to feel the lat engage and then find your tricep extension. 5 more seconds, 2 and 1. Come to standing, squeeze the glutes. Let's keep it similar to the last time. We'll just go out of order or in our new order. Let's call it that. So we're going to move to our lateral lunges. 5 more seconds. So maybe set yourself up. I'm going to work to the left side this time. Hip hinge, lateral lunge to the left, standing tall. Now, as you lunge, if you're feeling super confident and strong, you might not even place your hands on your thighs. You might just bring your hands out in front. If you want just a little bit of stability, take your hands, press them on your thighs, or place them on your thighs, place them, and that'll help you have just a bit of stability if you're not quite sure of yourself, but don't rely on the hands. Still work through the core to extend the spine. If you're going dynamic, remember, it's just a switch. So that's a bit of a brain puzzle. Stand tall at each top of each one. Switch over to the other side if you're staying on the same side. And remember, really come out and open up the front of the hips. And then as the hips open, if we're opening the muscle on the front, we're going to engage the muscle in the back. So if you squeeze your glutes at the top, that'll allow the hips an opportunity to release and open. Remember, dynamic, you just switch side to side. You can do whatever you want with your hands if you're going dynamic. Obviously, if I point, my lever is longer. I make the work more challenging. You can switch right on your thighs. Everybody come to standing, squeeze the glutes, toe heel the feet in. Take whatever kind of recovery you want. And remember, if you just need a long inhale and an exhale, even though you've made your step touch choices, that's fine. Come on down, let's sit. Let's work on those neck core. So take your time setting this up. Find your tripod. Get your brace with your hands. Draw your navel to your spine as you bring your legs up, and then find that balance point. So for some, just finding this shape, right? My yogis out there, don't chat it right now, but in your brain, think about what move this is in yoga. right? So I'll let you think about it. It's boat pose. So we're just finding boat pose. And now we're adding a layer of difficulty to our boat pose. We're starting to work the hip stabilizers. Now there's an option that I failed to mention, and that's placing your back on the back of the chair, right? That's totally an option. If you want to rest your back on the chair and just work the hips here, how nice is that? Then we can really isolate it to the hips and not ask our core to do as much work. Pause and notice, pause in your thought process and notice, can you hollow out the body? Keep drawing and tightening and firming the tissue rather than pushing out against it to stabilize. Are your hips tired? Mine are. I'm gonna rest just in this pose for a couple more seconds. By the way, my back is resting against the chair. I chose that option. I can hook behind my thighs and lift my back up on the chair. Yeah, that works. All right, place your feet down, pause for a moment. Press off, come to standing. Just about 14 seconds of recovery here. So do whatever you need to do. If you want to do some arm pumps, whoop, whoop, raise the roof, you can do that. Otherwise, we got to go to the wall. Remember, we're starting on our new side on the wall. And there you go. So as I just wanted to cue that you started on your new side, I'm going to stay here. Really think about the shoulder pad. Take your opposite arm and palpate. Kind of touch this fiber on the rib below the armpit and see if you can get that musculature to firm up or turn on or feel yourself using it in this wall plank. And then if you want to make this a little bit more challenging, you can find those little pulses, lifting this opposite hip away. If you're on a chair, you can play around with lifting your opposite arm, really bringing your arms into alignment here. Let's switch side. If you're on a chair, just gonna push down and roll. Push down and roll to the opposite side. And then you can lift your hips and find your pulse. If you're on the wall, hopefully you found an interesting push down and roll way. If you're feeling great about this in the chair, you wanna lift your opposite leg and just be on one leg. That's an option for you. That'll put some work in the hip stabilizers a little bit more. Wherever you are, make sure you're breathing in this exercise. So sometimes in order to stabilize, we hold our breath and we find stability there. Palpating, making sure that musculature is coming on. I just turned off my timer, but we know we're done. Sorry about that. Come standing, set yourself up for your final exercise. Why do I turn off my timer when I bump into it? If there's any iPhone designers out there, that's that pad. Okay, guys, let's go. Warrior 3, last exercise. Left foot steps back. And let's start. Maybe you want to work more on your balance this time. So when you're ready to launch, eye gaze is down in your balance. Lift and spread the toes of the leg that you're standing on and really feel your foot, your entire foot. The more surface area you can make with your standing leg, think about that triangle, big toe mound, piggy toe mound, and heel. Think about extending back through the leg that's extended. And breathe. Notice if you're holding your breath here. Make sure you breathe. Go ahead and lower that back leg. Step your back leg forward. Step your right foot back. And now remember, this is an option. So just lifting and lowering the heel and getting more ankle strength and stability, that could be your option today, and that's fine. Or just feeling the weight shift is fine. If you choose to go into the full balance this round, playing with how much you touch the chair, or if you can even bring your hands away and not touch the chair. We're all on different journeys here, and we can make these exercises, we can tweak them just the slightest bit to help each of us find our path on whatever journey we're on. Take the back foot down, and then toe heel the feet together. All right, we ran over, which is what we usually do. Go ahead and cool down with me. Beat the arms out. We usually do that when we do our 90-second round, but hopefully that's okay with you guys. I mean, technically, we get started just a few minutes after, and I do write a true 45-minute class. Oh, I forgot to take your heart rate. Gosh, ready? Everybody grab your pulse. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to find it. 3, 2, count. Stop. All right, so you can compare your pulse, your heart rate between the 2 sets with a little bit less rest, or maybe you modified the sets in some way. Let's just do some side hips, or you can compare your heart rate to last week. So if you worked 30 seconds more in each exercise this week, how did that change your heart rate? Good. Circle sweep the arms up, reach overhead. Clasp your hands together overhead, lift the heart, firm your glutes together, come into a tiny back bend, letting the front of the hips open up. Exhale, send your hips back. You're going to hang down into a little fold. Go as deep as that feels okay to you. If you'd like to use the chair, use the chair. Otherwise, hands are on the ground. Walk your fingertips over to your left. Feel that juicy little stretch. So you don't have to let your head completely hang. You can look forward here, trying to keep your head up above your heart a little bit more. Walk your fingertips over to the right. Isn't that a delicious feeling? Walk your fingertips back to center. Drop your seat a little bit and lift your chest. Shoulders higher than the seat. Push through the heels. Come to standing. Bring the arms up, and I'll meet you right here. It's a pleasure and an honor to share this workout and this wellness practice with you. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you next week.